I'm writing a book. I have been writing, but I am still working on the same book that I've been trying to write for some time now. But it's going well. I posted a story on my Instagram and I got a few messages of people asking me questions about my book. So then I posted another story opening up asking if any of you had questions about my book. And we got a few. We got a few, that's for sure. Let's see how many. Yeah, oh, oh, it's still okay. I'm gonna try my best to answer all of these. We'll see how that goes. There are a few that are the same or fall under the same category, so we'll just piece those together. Let's get into it. I'm gonna try my best. I think the easiest one to start off with is what genre is it, which I got asked quite a few times, but this specific person asked in all caps. I think they really want to know what genre it is. And so it brings me great delight to tell you that it is fantasy. I do remember seeing another question of someone asking me if there's any romance in it, and yes, but I do want to say that it is a small amount. It is not the main thing, so this is by no means a romantasy. This is a fantasy book that has some romance in it, because I think it just makes sense for there to be romance in it. And the reason I say that is because my book, and I've talked about this a few times, is really, in my opinion and how I'm approaching it, a character study. And for me, I think adding an element of romance, which is a very human experience, whether it be good or bad experiences with romance, it is something that we all, at least for the most part, experience at least once in our life. And how someone acts in a situation that is romantic, I think is a good way to kind of get this idea of how this person works. I think someone's interactions with other people and different settings in which those interactions happen tell you a lot about a character, and therefore I added romance in. I also love, I love love, so we added it. Why are you writing it? Why now? Great question. This is the third book that I actually started writing with the intent of publishing and sharing with the world to read and purchase. The first one was set in a very modern setting. There was no magic, and it was really fun in the beginning. But for me personally, I became very bored with the story. And if me, the person who is writing it, myself, is bored with it, I was like, other people are probably going to be bored with this. And so I scrapped that. And then I took the core of what that story was and just tried putting it into a different setting. And the genre then became science fiction. And I actually really like that story idea. However, it is one that I personally felt like I wanted to put on pause and revisit when I felt like I've had just a little bit more experience developing an entire story and cast of characters and just completing writing a book before I approached that one. Not to say that this book is easier by any means to write, because if it was, I'd be done by now. But I just had a little bit more of a complex idea, and both of them are my babies. The fantasy book that I'm writing right now and the science fiction one that I want to revisit, they're both my babies, but I'm going to be honest, the science fiction one is my firstborn and my youngest, and my fantasy is my middle. I have love for it. I really do. I'd do anything for it, but it's not my favorite. That one just felt like I wanted to have a little bit more experience. I just wanted to have a little bit more time working and improving and strengthening my storytelling skills. This leads me into another question that I got, which is I have written something in a fantasy setting before, so I'm a little bit more familiar with that, whereas sci-fi, I have not, and it's a little daunting. And so I just wanted a little bit more time, and I felt slightly rushed in a way for some reason because I had taken the time to actually plot and plan and do research, and then things kind of got derailed a little bit. Just the story itself naturally shifted, and then I felt like I needed to quickly replan everything so I could get back on track. Type A. Things weren't going according to schedule and it threw me off. And so I went, okay, let's take a break. Let's step away. Let's work on the fantasy one, which I had already been thinking about as well. I have a whole notes app of stories that I would like to tell eventually. The question that was kind of leading into is this one, which is this the first full-length piece you've written? Of fully original work, yes. In general, the first full-length story I've written, no. I have written a fan fiction, and something that I do love is that now when you say that, people aren't like, so you haven't written anything. And I appreciate that because I wrote, okay? I wrote my ass off for that fan fiction. I guess I can share with you because I did talk about it briefly in one of my other videos and people were like, what fan fiction did you write? And you know what? I think we're at this stage where I can be vulnerable with all of you. And I don't really keep it a secret. I just also don't shout it out into the world. You've maybe seen this book in the back of some of my videos or my TikToks, and it's this one right here, which is The Ghost of You. I wrote this. I believe I posted this, was it a year or 2 years ago? I think it's been 2 years since I posted this. I had posted all the chapters on my birthday with the goal of making one person cry. Thank God I succeeded in that. And I don't know if I mentioned, but this is Hermione. And if you don't know what Hermione is, that's just the ship, the pairing, the main couple of the story, which is Draco and Hermione. The way that I came up with the idea for this story is actually very similar to how I came up with the one that I'm currently writing now, which was I heard a song and for some reason it just made my brain, music tends to get my brain thinking about story ideas. I think there are some people who they are similar, or maybe they watch something, or maybe they just see something, a piece of art, whatever it might be, and that kind of gets the creative juices going. For me, it tends to be music, and I heard a bit of a song. I immediately saw the plot twist and the ending, and then I had to work back from there. In general, for me, it seems like I tend to come up with the plot twist and the ending first, which is fun and also not fun because damn, is it hard to then try to figure out, okay, well, how did we get here? And what actually makes sense? What justifies this plot twist and ending? And what makes this plot twist twisty? But yes, I have written a full-length piece before. If you'd like to read this, it is on AO3. It's about 70,000-ish words. I did write a perspective from both Draco and Hermione's point of view. The original is just from Draco's. That is the original one. That's the one I tend to tell people to read because I definitely spent a little bit more time on it. It is, however, a published first draft. Everything that has to do with the story, first draft. I wrote it, I put it in a Google Doc, I let my friends read it real quick, we added maybe a comma or two here, and then it went up there. I did not go back and do any other editing, so be kind. Be kind, bitch. What is your writing schedule? That's a great question. I definitely had more of a structured writing schedule when I was first writing it, and then it kind of went to shit because I was under the delusion that I was a 100% full-bred pantser. And if you don't know what that means, it's essentially you fuck around and you find out. You have an idea and you don't take time to outline or plan and you just do it. Yeah, like I mentioned, type A. That didn't work for me. And so I figured out what works really well for me is sort of a hybrid, but more so like 60% plotter, 40% pantser. I need the ability to have the story progress organically and on its own as I write, and to be able to have this flexibility in it where I don't feel super married to, oh, this has to happen here and this and this and then this. I need some structure of some points and beats to work towards, but other than that, we hang out. And so because of that, when I got derailed realizing, oh my God, I need to plot and I haven't, it hurt me. And then I truthfully just didn't have it as high of a priority anymore. That has changed. I kind of took a look at everything near the end of last year and I went, okay, I want to get this story out. I want to write it. I want to tell this and share it with people. So I need to figure this out. As of right now, I try to write something every single day. Now that doesn't always happen, or if it does, sometimes it's only like 30, 40 words. But on the weekends, I try to hit at least 1,500 to 2,000 words over the weekend. And I have been managing to do that, which is very nice. And I would say as of right now, I probably write at least 3 out of the 5 days of the work week. And I'll get around a minimum of like 400 to 500 words, which it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's more than zero. There were a few questions that I got regarding how is it going to be published, where is it going to be available, things like that. So let me just answer those in this moment here. As of right now, I am planning to just self-publish it. Someone did ask me how the querying experience has been. I wouldn't know. I haven't experienced it. And honestly, thank God. I heard it kind of strips away your will to live. But I am wanting to traditionally, or attempt to traditionally publish at one point in my life. I'm going to be self-publishing this book though for numerous different reasons. The first one being I want to be able to put it out when it's done. And by that I mean once I'm done writing it and I have an alpha reader, a beta reader, I send it to at least a line editor and I just get it looked through. I put the finalized touches on it. I want to be able to put it out so that you can finally have it. Another reason I want to do it is because I was very involved in the fanfiction community, and the first piece of writing that I ever shared with anyone that I was willing to attach to my name and who I am was that fanfiction that I just shared with you, and that community has been nothing but kind and welcoming and very supportive of me and my writing. So as a way to kind of thank them for the support that they have given me and for kind of giving me the strength to believe in myself and my ability to go after one of my dreams that I've always had, which is becoming an author. I wanted to be able to incorporate some things of the fan fiction community. So, someone had also asked if there's going to be any artwork, not inside the book, but I did get a piece of art of my main character and his brother done by Avondale. And if you are within the fan fiction community, if you like Manacled, it is the same person who did a lot of the most well known artwork that you have seen for Manacled. Avondale was a fucking dream to work with, and she really brought my characters, or at least two of them, to life based off of some ramblings and some just like inspo photos that I sent her, which was amazing. I am just in awe of it. If you sign up for my newsletter where you just get kind of updates on my writing and things like that, it should send you like an automatic welcome. And at the bottom of that is that artwork. But like I mentioned, it's not going to be in the book. What I think I'll do is make overlays or just print out this artwork and send it to those who end up beta reading my book as a thank you for them taking the time to do that. Another way that I really want to be able to incorporate the fanfiction community is one, having and asking, begging maybe if any of them would be willing to beta read my story, and then also having this ability to legally hire and pay some of them for their talent that they share for free and offer for free in the fanfiction community. If you didn't know, I have a bunch of bound fanfiction behind me, and those come from some amazing binders who very kindly and generously bound those and gifted them to me, because buying fanfiction is illegal. And so because this is my book and my work, I want to be able to hire them on to make the typeset for me and things like that, just so that I can incorporate that community, the first place that I was able to share my work and felt brave enough to share my work in, and kind of have that be a part of my first original piece of work. Someone had also asked if it will come in paperback. I'm assuming it will only come in paperback. I'm doing print on demand, so as of right now, it will most likely only be available as paperback and as an ebook. What inspo did you pull for your villain? I never hear the specifics from authors on them. Oh, if you've seen any of my past writing videos and talking about my book, you know that I have a very hard time speaking about it without spoiling things. And funnily enough, someone had asked if I've figured out yet how to speak about it without spoiling it. And kind of, but not a lot. So I'm trying to think of how to talk about the inspiration for the villain without spoiling things. I would say when it came to inspirations and crafting and putting together the villain, I had to figure out mindset and why. I would say for the villain, and this is going to sound very probably like anticlimactic and not very interesting, but it's the best I can think of right now, which I've had time to think about these questions and yet didn't think of anything. I would say it's this mindset of, if I were the villain, I'm sitting there thinking, I have been wronged. Therefore, I am claiming back what is mine and what I believe rightfully belongs to me. That's all I can give you for right now. What are the chances you let any of your followers be beta readers? Very high. I'm actually really hoping that you all would want to be. My plan is that maybe like 2 weeks before I'm ready for it to go to beta readers, I'm going to post on my Instagram and then also send out through my newsletter that I am looking for beta readers. And I will just have like a form that you can fill out. And from there, I'll then message you, say, here's my timeline of when I need this read and I need your feedback by, just to kind of be in accordance with the timeline that I have for myself. And if it works out, then beta reader. What's your process when it comes to coming up with motivations for each character? This is actually a really good one, and I like this because I had to figure this out at one point. You know, being a pantser and then realizing, hey, I can't do this full time, the pantsing thing. I needed to sit and like plot, and with that, it's figuring out all these different things. What I really love when I read a book is when it feels like I'm only getting to see a small portion of these characters' lives, but it feels like they had a life before me and they will have one after me. And so how I approach my characters is in the same way. I want these characters to have had a full life and existed and had all of these different things happen to them before the reader is spending time with them. And I want them to still feel like they will have one afterwards as well. And so for me, what I did was I built out a timeline of their life of like these major events. And maybe when these smaller ones happened, but those small events still kind of contributed to who these characters are, their morals and values and their perspective on the world. And then it was really looking at, okay, here's where I want the characters to end up. Here's where I have them currently. What logically would make sense for them to end up where I want them to? And also, what would have needed to happen for them to be that character that the readers are first meeting. So it was really just figuring out my characters on an intimate level, as if they're like, I'm my really good friend. You know, I know all of this traumatic stuff that my friends have been through, so I needed to know that for my characters. And I also knew the things, the really fond memories that my friends have. I need that for my characters. And with that, just naturally came the motivators for what they want out of it. And again, it's going back to the why. Why does this character want XYZ? Okay, let's figure that out. And how would their character, based on who they are, why and how will they get there? What would they do? Would they play dirty? Would they play fair? Do they believe in sometimes crossing a moral line, or are they really like, no, we need to do this the right way? And it was really just figuring that out. And for me, once I kind of figured out who my characters were before my story started, those things came rather naturally. Someone did want to know if it's first, second, or third person. It is third person. I did mess around with first, second, and third at one point. Third is where I've landed. Are you a perfectionist when it comes to prose? For the longest time writing, I needed every word from me that I was typing out and putting into a Google Doc to be perfect and for it to be final. And that was debilitating. And so now, yes, I still fight that off and I struggle with it, but I am on my first draft. And so I've kind of had to put that away. I think when I go back through the editing process, I will try to perfect it as best as I can with where my skills are at. Hopefully, you will see my writing and my prose improve and strengthen with each book. That is my goal. I have accepted that. I am not on the level of like Rebecca Ross's very lyrical, poetic writing, or S.T. Gibson, or Rachel Gillig. I am not someone who can write in the tone that like the Lord of the Rings are. I kind of know that there are inspirations that I pull from works that I like, that I've read and really admire. Rebecca Ross and Rachel Gillig with their prose, I really love how they write. I really love how Pierce Brown executes and crafts action scenes. I really love how Brandon Sanderson world builds and builds this tension and then has this kind of like the Sanderlanche. Like there's all of these things that I love that I am inspired by, but I am never trying to replicate, because I know that at the end of the day, I am not them. So I cannot replicate it. And I want it to have a uniqueness that comes from me. Just like how when I read those authors' books, I can tell like that has a piece of those authors in there. I recognize them in their work, and I want that for myself as well. So I think when it comes to being a perfectionist of my prose, I can only be to a certain extent. I think my prose on its own, as I continue to write, as I continue to learn more about the art of storytelling, the prose will naturally get better and better. I don't think you can ever perfect it. I think it'll get stronger eventually, but when it comes to finalizing this book, I'm definitely 100% going to try to perfect it as much as I can with the level that I am at. Do you have an official publishing date? No. Describe your main characters in 5 words or less. Holy shit. 5 words or less? But I like saying lots of words. I'm actually going to double the word count that you gave me to describe, or I guess pose a question regarding my main character, Nikolai. Is he complex, or is he just an asshole? Read and find out. I got a few people asking like what my inspirations are, if I pulled from anything, whatever it might be. Yes and no. When I came up with the story idea, it really was just me hearing a song, and I think it was the feeling and the atmosphere that that song kind of made me feel like I was in. And I went, wow, I would really love to create a story that feels the way that this song sounds. I could not tell you what that song was now. It was just like a random shuffle. I just heard it and I went, oh my God, I don't know it now. And it actually kind of pisses me off. I wish I did. The last thing I'm going to answer is someone asked, is it going to hurt our feelings? And I can't promise that. I think there are moments where I want it to hurt your feelings. And if it doesn't, my feelings will then be hurt. But overall, this story, unlike The Ghost of You, I am not writing with the purpose and the intent of wanting you to feel helpless and destroyed at the end. I by no means am necessarily writing this because I want you to be super happy at the end of it. I'm definitely not writing a feel good, ooh, this is cozy and warm and fluffy type of story, but I'm also not trying to write a super devastating, gonna put you into a sad, depressive state, needing to call your therapist. I hope not. Well, if you do, fair. So that's my story. I really don't know how many questions I answered. I probably didn't answer enough. I don't know how well I answered them, but luckily for you, I have this YouTube channel, and on top of talking about books that I read and that I want to read, I plan on continuing sharing my journey of writing this book and documenting that, and also doing more videos regarding my book and talking about it. So let me focus on, listen, I'm writing the book. Eventually, I'll figure out how to truly speak about it, because in my head it makes a lot of sense, and while I'm writing it makes a lot of sense, but I can't keep secrets, and so it's very hard for me to not tell you everything. But if I spoil the book for you, you're not going to want to read it, so I have to just shut the fuck up, and that's why I'm going to go. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. I hope you enjoyed your visit, but leave, because I need to go. I need to go write the damn book. So I'll see you next time. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and pray for me. Thank you.